Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas. This is Entrepreneur 101 or Entrepreneurship 101, inspiring entrepreneurs to rise, innovate, and create lasting impact. Today, I have my special guest. He's a CEO of Magna Leadership Solutions, none other than Mr. or Dr. Kevin Gazzara.
Daniel, thank you so much for sharing me with your audience.
Thank you, Dr. Kevin, for being part again to one of my podcasts, Entrepreneurship 101. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Well, I spent 30 years in industry. I worked in uh, heavy equipment for Transamerica de Laval, big equipment company, but I spent the last almost 20 years at Intel Corporation. So many people would know Intel. And I had a personal goal to retire at 50, which I was able to do with two of my colleagues. And since then, I've been providing executive coaching and leadership training for companies all around the world. So we do that through Magna Leadership Solutions. And in addition, I am a professor at multiple universities around the globe. So that keeps me quite busy, and I get an opportunity to talk about entrepreneurship as well as leadership and help other companies, smaller companies usually, develop their leaders so they can be successful.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Dr. Kevin. Thank you. So today, let's talk about how mindset shapes every business decision. So tell us, how would you define a founder's mindset or CEO mindset, and in what specific ways does it act as an invisible compass for every strategic choice?
Well, I think the one thing is I became an entrepreneur at 50, although I've always had an entrepreneurial heart. Even as a kid, I always had my own businesses, cutting lawns, while many of my friends were working hourly jobs. I was creating my own business. So I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. And I think the big thing for someone that's an entrepreneur, wants to become an entrepreneur, they if they have a fixed mindset, they're going to be limited with their ability to grow their business. You really have to have this kind of abundance mindset where you look at things as opportunities rather than as challenges. And if you can do that, and you have the ability to be patient as you're growing your business, I think most entrepreneurs can build a successful business. So you really have to have persistence and have to stay the course because usually the first 18 to 24 months is the most difficult. And that's usually when many people that start a business go out of business. And I know for us, we were right at 19 months before we landed our first major contract. And that's kept us alive and well for the last 18 years.
Yes, and Dr. Kevin, what's the common scarcity mindset trap that holds small businesses back, and what does the abundant mindset alternative look like in practice?
I think the thing that holds businesses back is they feel like that there's only one way for success. And I think, if you look at things that the three variables that we kind of define that have an impact on our businesses, we have the first variable, which is ourself. The second one is others, and the third one is the environment. And I think people that are successful recognize that, really have almost 100% of the time, you have control of yourself, how you think, what you think about, how creative you can be looking for opportunities. You have some control of others, but you really don't have control of the environment, the economy, the world situation, and so forth. So too many people have a dependency that they believe that that they can control that or kind of influence that, and that doesn't really happen. So the more you really invest in yourself to become what's necessary, and work with others, it's always a team environment. I think that's what will make you successful.
Yes, definitely. And Dr. Kevin, how does a leader's core belief about human nature, whether people are fundamentally trustworthy or not, shape their policies on hiring, delegation, and oversight?
Well, I'm going to quote Andy Grove. So when I worked at Intel, Andy Grove was one of the founders of Intel, a fantastic gentleman. I had the opportunity to meet and speak with him several times during my career. He wrote a wonderful book called Only the Paranoid Survive. I'd highly recommend that to anyone that's considering being an entrepreneur. But Andy's focus was, he said, in order to be successful as a leader, you need to be hard driving yet human. And what that means is that you really have to have a good vision. You have to set your goals. You have to go after your goals. And have to be able to pivot when things change in the environment. But at the same point in time, you have to realize that people are really your most important asset. And I know many companies and HR departments talk about that, how important people are. Yet I found that many of the companies that we work with, that's just a slogan on the wall, and they believe that everyone is replaceable. And I think employees know that. So I think if you want to be successful, you have to treat your people well. You have to pay them fairly. Um, Most importantly, you have to listen to them and have them be part of the input and the solutions. And if you can bring that human piece, where you have concern for them, not only at work but also for their lives in general, with their families, significant others, and what's important to them, then I think you can be successful.
Yes, definitely. And Dr. Kevin, can you give an example of how fixed mindset versus a growth mindset directly impacts companies' approach to innovation and training?
Sure. Well, I'll give you from one of the people that I've been coaching for the last year and a half or so. The gentleman started off with a very fixed mindset that this is what I have to do. This is the amount of money I need to make, and this is how I have to do it. And what I got him to recognize is that you can certainly start off in a direction. It's kind of like the difference between a compass and a map. I think you have
Hmm.
to have I think you have to have the direction you're going, whether you're going north, south, east, or west. But as you're moving in that general direction, there's lots and lots of different ways on the map that you can get there. And as environmental things change, as the people that you're working with change, as you change, that you have to have the ability to make deviations in the map in order to get to your goal. And I think too often many of the entrepreneurs kind of figure out that they start with the map instead of starting with a compass. And when I've been coaching this individual, what I recognize is as he was running into challenges and he wasn't meeting his expectations, he was continuing to push harder and harder and harder on just trying to generate sales. And once I got him to recognize that his business is much more a combination of elements. Like he was just trying to do to gain everything through cold calling, and we did a really interesting exercise I had developed to talk about the three variables that influences his company. And what we found out was that there were teaching elements that he could do, where he was teaching classes or doing set webinars. There was certainly the cold calling, but the other thing was that he also had the ability, which he hadn't thought of doing keynote speaking. And rather than focusing on the cold calls, which was the fixed mindset, I said, what would happen if you focused, instead of your business, on just trying to get new clients in through cold calling? What if you just changed your focus, kind of this moving away from the fixed mindset to focusing just on one of the other elements, because the fixed mindset on the cold calling wasn't working. So he moved from moving in that direction to doing keynote speaking. And what he found was that even though that wasn't the primary business that he wanted to be in, that getting up in front of 100, 200, 300, 400 people and telling your story was generating a pull for his business rather than the push that he was trying to do through the cold calls. So now what he does is he recognizes that, hey, in order to get the business that I want, what I should do is, my business is really keynote speaking, and from that comes the additional business of coaching and training of what he wanted to do. But it was getting him to make that shift. I think that was so important, and it led to his success.
Very interesting and empowering answer, Dr. Kevin. We give you an applause for that, and thank you for that story. On mindset and action and decision making, how does a problem oriented mindset lead to a completely different decision than the opportunity focused mindset when facing the same market challenge?
Well, I think that, the the fixed mindset, I think, leads you down a single path. And if you're successful in that single path, I think you're relatively lucky. The problem is usually a single path, like I explained before, where you're not looking at multiple sources of generating income or generating clients, uh, uh, generating new ideas. If you have that single path, it becomes very, very difficult to scale your business, right? That you may be successful there. Sometimes people are, sometimes they're not. Obviously, it depends on the competition that you have. It also depends on the environment and so forth. But if you are only focused on a single item, um, and if you have a little competition, you can certainly be successful. But doing the same thing over and over again and growing, I think, is very, very difficult. And that's why sometimes that you have to have these multiple avenues in order for you to get your message out. And like I said in the last example, it was moving to become a keynote speaker instead of being a salesman.
Being a salesman. So, Dr. Kevin, when considering a new investment, how does a mindset of fear versus a mindset of conviction alter the risk calculus?
Well, I think you have to make what I would call informed decisions, right? And I think there's a whole spectrum of decision making that I think many um, entrepreneurs, particularly ones that I've coached, live on one end of the scale. That they have to have everything perfect, right? They have to have 100% of all the knowledge. They have to have all of the details and all of the facts. And the challenge with that is when you're so highly dependent on just the facts and not kind of listening to your heart or your gut, um, that one, it takes a long time to get to where you want to be to make the decision. And two, quite often what happens is, by the time you've made this decision, a good portion of the opportunities have gone. And so what I tell people is, and kind of a motto that I live by, is that you want to live by this perspective of having an informed decision making, which means getting 80% towards where you want to be, having just enough information so that you can do. We used to call this at Intel rapid prototyping, where you have this idea, you have enough information to move forward, but you don't have all of the information, because the best entrepreneurs recognize is they don't know what they don't know. And if you wait significantly longer till you have 100% information, many of the opportunities will have passed you by. Plus, the other thing is, I had this situation where I had this one individual I was coaching, who was starting up their business, and they were very, very tied to data. And what they found out was that they would not release their product, before they had more data and more data and more data, more confirmation. And by the time they released it, when it was out in the marketplace, they got so much negative feedback on the product that they could have had 6 months earlier just by releasing it early. They could have learned from that and had a much, much better product. So I would say is get the product 80% there, and then release it. Obviously, you want to have safety considerations. It has to be safe, and figure out what you don't know. And if you can do it sooner rather than later, and then repeat the process over and over and over again, essentially iterating back and forth, building your company and your product, I think you can be successful. But if you're going to wait till it's 100% perfect, and it's released, I can guarantee you that it's not going to be perfect, because you're going to miss that opportunity from the clients.
Dr. Kevin, let's talk about the overcoming limiting mindset. What are the telltale signs that one's useful mindset has now become a limiting belief that is holding the company back?
Well, I think the first element that you're going to notice is that you've stopped listening, that you've stopped listening to others, you've stopped soliciting feedback. You're not taking constructive criticism. That you're looking at everything from a negative perspective, or almost an attack. And when you can have constructive dialogue with others, particularly others that may have more of a level of experience, of knowledge than you, then I think that's the first indication that you're stuck in this fixed mindset. And you really have to believe that collaboration, working with others, that it's more than just you having a great idea,
Hmm.
is so important. And once you've kind of recognized that, and you can be humble, right? You can say, that you've made a mistake. The best leaders learn from their mistakes. If you talk to any leader, or anyone that's really built a company, I think you're going to find that they have made a lot of mistakes along the way. And the key is that they've learned from those mistakes. If you can't learn from your mistakes, if you can't accept your mistakes, and that's really what entrepreneurship is all about, is you want to make sure that you're making mistakes, as long as the mistakes are not fatal mistakes.
Yes, not a fatal mistake, people. You need to learn from your mistake and don't be afraid to commit failures. What is a practical technique for shifting from a reactive mindset to proactive mindset, Dr. Kevin, during the stressful quarter?
Well, Daniel, I think that for me, probably one of the most interesting exercises I've done to really help others shift, is to get them to think about in the future, right? That I'll ask them the couple easy questions of, let's set the scenario that we're 1 year from now, and your business has radically failed, right? That you have not made any of your goals and you're getting ready to shut down the business. So I really want you to place yourself in that position in the future. Can be can be 6 months, a year, a couple of years from now, whatever. But I want you to place yourself in that, and I want you to feel that. And now I want you to be a consultant. I want your future self to consult your present self and tell you what are the things that I should have done differently that would have eliminated this position I'm in where I'm ready to close down my business. And if you can get someone to think in their future self to consult their current self, and you give them enough time to be reflective, I think most people know what they should do differently. I think one of the things, like the example I had given you with the one person I was coaching, where he was only doing cold calling. It's the definition of his insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different outcomes. It's it's getting you to think in the future and really be that consultant for yourself. And sometimes, if you can't do it yourself, that's where you can hire a consultant. You can get a coach. They can help you structure your thoughts and hopefully move you in a direction where you never have to be in that position where you've really put your hard-earned effort into something and it really hasn't been successful.
Yes, definitely. And Dr. Kevin, what is the single most important mindset shift leader can make today to future proof their business and decision making?
Well, I always believe that the shift is moving to what I would call a servant leadership model, right? And servant leadership is all about giving back and making things better for others, right? That I think if you have this internal focus where you believe that leadership is all about making you successful, uh, independent of others, uh, where you are benefiting and others are not, that I think that is a very, very limiting mindset. So taking the time to really think about not only how am I going to grow my business, but how am I going to grow my business in a way from a servant perspective that not only helps me grow, where it's this abundance mind, mindset, um, not only for me to grow, but others to grow with me. I think is the key to long term sustainable growth for a company and to build your own leadership. When it's all just focused on me, I think that's very, very dangerous and not sustainable long term.
Dr. Kevin, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, or third season, food 101, geography 101, love letters, and movie 101 review, music 101 are fourth season, and Science 101, Sex 101 in its second season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101, Bible Verses 101, Entrepreneurship 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Dr. Kevin, ultimately, if you could leave every leader with one core belief to adopt about power of mindset, what would it be?
I think the core belief is believe in yourself and always do what my father told me is do something that is just a little bit out of what you believe you can reach, because you'll never know what your full potential is until you to go after that something or some things that are outside of your reach. If you're always playing it safe, uh, then I think you're going to be limiting your potential.
Yes, indeed. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Dr. Kevin. Please do come over and over and over. Let's talk about something good about entrepreneurship. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your projects, or anything you want to promote on Entrepreneurship 101?
What I'd say is anybody that wants to learn a little bit about management leadership in our business, they can visit our website at www.magnaleadership.com, or I'm always interested to help new entrepreneurs. You can reach me at kevin@magnaleadership.com. As I promised you, is I will never give a sales pitch to you. If I can be helpful to you, that's part of the abundant mindset and not fixed mindset. I am here for you to help, because I think we can all grow together.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Kevin Gazzara, because if you support him, for sure more and more empowering entrepreneur will rise. So, Dr. Kevin, thank you so much for your time.
It's been my pleasure, Daniel. Thank you.
Mordika people, see you soon.